So, when Prohibition ended, he went legal? That's right. His father died about that time, and his older brother inherited, but he had the distribution rights to the family brands, and he was well connected with other distillers as a result of his recent activities. He poured his illicit profits into the business, and pretty soon he was leading the pack. And how long did he run the business? Right up until yesterday. He had a stroke last night. That's a long run. How old was he? 91. So you'll take over now? That remains to be seen, Sandy sighed. Old Jock had a son and a daughter late in life. The son's in the business. I'm married to the daughter. He sighed again. You don't make it sound like the happiest of circumstances. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to whine. Oh, nothing like that, Sandy, but I can see how that sort of family could be difficult to live in. Sandy pulled at the whiskey again and began to relax. He found he needed to talk, and he had the ear of a sympathetic stranger, someone he'd never see again after this flight. It was difficult at first, he said. I married Joan the summer after my junior year at Amherst. She was at Mount Holyoke, and she was pregnant, if the truth be known, and I wanted to do the right thing. Were you in love with her? Yes, and I was, oddly, very happy when she told me she was pregnant. Old Jock, her father, thought I was after his money, of course, so I made a point of not taking a penny from him. I worked 2 jobs my senior year, and we lived in a garage apartment. I don't think I've ever been happier. Why advertising? You said your father was in the business? Yes, he was an old-timer at Young and Rubicam, and I joined the trainee program there. Did well, too. Jock had assumed I'd want a job with him, so I managed again not to meet his worst expectations. He liked that. Before long, he was insulted that I hadn't come to work for him, and he began to press me hard. When I thought I had played hard to get for long enough, I gave in. Since I was by that time a successful account executive at Y&R, I thought he'd want me to take over his marketing. Sandy laughed ruefully at the memory. Let me tell you something. Don't ever go to work for a Scotsman without a contract. I take it you did. I did. He put me to selling booze, and do you know what my territory was? Not good. The Bowery. One day I had a nice office and a secretary on Madison Avenue. The next, I was in and out of every gin joint from 8th Street to Houston, in the regular company of what used to be called bums. That was before they became the homeless. I don't guess you sold much single malt whiskey. Not much. 60% of my sales were in cheap gin and rye. We weren't in the wine business in those days, so I didn't have to sell muscatel. Was it tough work? I worked my ass off and never made a squawk either. Jock was waiting for that. Meantime, his son, John Jr., or Laddie, as he's always been called, was working the Upper East Side, lunching at 21 every day and getting his suits made at Dunhill's. If I'd showed up on the Bowery in a Dunhill suit, I wouldn't have lived through the first week. I worked in coveralls out of a panel truck. I take it this didn't last forever? No, after 2.5 years, Jock brought me uptown and put me in marketing as assistant marketing manager, working for an old rummy who didn't know a third of what I did about marketing and advertising. And how long did you take that particular form of abuse? Not long. After about 2 weeks, I walked into Jock's office and more or less told him to go to hell. I told him I wouldn't work for him another day, that he didn't have sense enough to use talent where it would do some good. And what was his reaction? I don't think anybody had ever talked to him that way before, but he took it surprisingly well. Cunningly, he asked if I had another offer somewhere. I told him the truth. I didn't, but I'd go out and make a job for myself. Advertising was in something of a